Imagine falling from the sky. Not in a dream. Not in a nightmare, but in reality, plunging 10,000 feet from a plane that has torn apart in midair. Imagine the deafening roar of engines exploding, the world spinning in chaos, and then silence, as you're swallowed by the endless green sea of the Amazon jungle. Most people would call that moment the end. But for one girl it became the beginning of a fight for life that would defy all odds. It was December 24th, 1971, Christmas Eve. For most people around the world, it was a night of joy, family gatherings, and celebration. For 17-year-old Juliane Koepcke, it was supposed to be just that. She was traveling with her mother on Lancer Flight 508, a Peruvian passenger plane, to visit her father for the holidays. Juliane wasn't an ordinary girl. Born to German parents who were both biologists, she had grown up with an unusual childhood. While other children played in city streets, Juliane had explored rivers, forests, and the wonders of the Amazon itself. She had been taught to respect nature, to recognize its dangers, and to endure its challenges. But even those lessons could not have prepared her for what was about to happen. As the plane soared through the Peruvian sky, everything seemed calm. Passengers chatted, children laughed, and the holiday spirit filled the cabin. Then, without warning, the world split open. A massive thunderstorm ripped through the sky. Lightning flashed like angry whips of fire. The plane shook violently, luggage tumbled, and terrified screams echoed. In seconds, chaos replaced calm. A blinding bolt of lightning struck the aircraft. The engines exploded. Metal screamed as the fuselage tore apart. And then Juliane was no longer in a plane. She was in the sky, falling, strapped to her seat, plummeting toward the earth below. The crash should have killed her instantly. But fate had other plans. Somehow, the seat Juliane was strapped to may have acted as a parachute, slowing her fall just enough. She slammed into the jungle floor, battered and broken but alive. When she opened her eyes, the world around her was unrecognizable. The once familiar Amazon forest green, beautiful and alive, now looked like an endless prison. She could hear nothing but insects, birds, and the distant roar of water. Her injuries were severe. She had broken her collarbone. Deep cuts marked her legs and arms, and one of her eyes was swollen shut. She was dazed, weak, and alone. But the most painful part wasn't her body, it was her heart. She had been traveling with her mother, and now her mother was gone. She called out again and again, crying into the endless green. No answer came. The silence was unbearable. Juliane searched the wreckage, hoping to find survivors. Instead, she found devastation. Bodies lay scattered among the debris. She was just 17, surrounded by death, bleeding, dizzy, and utterly alone in one of the deadliest jungles on Earth. The Amazon was not a forgiving place. Venomous snakes slithered beneath the leaves. Swarms of insects bit relentlessly. Every sound was a reminder of danger lurking nearby. And worst of all, Juliane had no food, no supplies, and no idea how far she was from help. The first night was the hardest. She lay on the forest floor, trembling, listening to the terrifying chorus of the jungle. Every rustle in the darkness felt like death creeping closer. Her stomach churned with hunger. Her wounds throbbed with pain. At one point, overwhelmed by exhaustion and despair, she whispered to herself, "I can't do this. I can't survive here." The thought of giving up felt almost comforting. To close her eyes, let go, and stop fighting. After all, who could possibly survive this? No one knew she was alive. No one even knew where to look. For a brief moment, Juliane believed her story would end in that jungle, swallowed by the earth, just another lost soul in its endless green depths. But then something within her shifted. A memory surfaced. Her father, teaching her about survival in the wild, had once said, "If you're ever lost, find water. Rivers are the lifelines of the jungle. They lead to people." Those words echoed in her mind like a lifeline of their own. And so, Juliane made a choice. She would not die here. She would not give in. She would fight step by step, wound by wound, breath by breath. With her broken body, with no food, and surrounded by death, she stood up. She chose life. Juliane stumbled through the jungle, searching for water. Her vision blurred, her legs weak, but she pressed on. Finally, she found a small stream. She drank greedily, the cool water giving her just enough strength to go on. She remembered her father's lesson. Follow the stream. Streams lead to rivers. Rivers lead to people. And so, she began her journey. Day after day, Juliane trudged through the jungle. She had no shoes, only one sandal. Her skin was covered in insect bites. Leeches clung to her as she waded through the water. The sun burned by day, the cold pierced by night. On the fourth day, she discovered a group of deceased passengers still strapped to their seats, half buried in the ground. The sight was horrifying. Among them, she thought she saw her mother. Her heart broke again, yet she forced herself to keep moving. If she stopped, she knew it was over. Her wounds grew infected. Maggots crawled inside a deep gash on her arm. Most people would panic, but Juliane, remembering her parents' scientific teachings, used gasoline she found from a wreckage fragment to clean the wound. The pain was excruciating, but she endured it. She survived on what little she could find. Candies from the wreckage, rainwater, and sheer willpower. 11 days passed. 11 days of pain, fear, hunger, and exhaustion. 11 days where every step could have been her last, but she never stopped. She never gave up. Finally, on the 11th day, Juliane stumbled upon a small boat by a riverbank. She could hardly believe her eyes. It was real, not a hallucination, not a dream. Nearby, she found a small hut belonging to local lumber workers. Weak and nearly unconscious, she collapsed inside. When the men returned, they were shocked to see this half-dead, bloodied girl lying there. They cared for her, cleaned her wounds, and after hours of boat travel, delivered her to safety. Juliane Koepcke had done the impossible. She had fallen from the sky, survived the deadliest jungle on Earth for 11 days, and emerged alive. Her story became legendary, not just because she survived, but because she refused to give up when everything around her screamed that it was over. Juliane's story is not just about survival, it is about the human spirit, about resilience, about the unbreakable power of choosing to fight, even when the odds are impossible. Her survival teaches us this. No matter how dark it gets, no matter how broken you feel, as long as you are breathing, you have a chance. And if you refuse to give up, you can endure the unendurable and achieve the impossible. The jungle could not break her. Fear could not stop her. Pain could not silence her. She stood tall, not because she was unafraid, but because she chose to move forward despite the fear. Juliane Koepcke's survival reminds us that life will throw storms, crashes, and jungles our way. But no matter how far we fall, we can rise again. Thank you for watching. Remember, no matter what happens in life, never give up.